Hey guys, welcome back. I'm Chad with Take One Film and Video, and got John Ballinger with Panasonic back with us. How you doing, John?
Doing good, Chad.
Well, we just got done wrapping up a video. You brought by some cool toys here. We had the UC3000 and the AK UC5000 and the UB 300. You know, and we talked a lot about that and the differences and how these cameras are embracing a lot of the new technology that's kind of the next generation of HD and 4K. But I wanted to get a little bit deeper because people have a lot of questions about 4K and UHD and what exactly are they and how do we use them? So I kind of wanted to talk a little bit more about that today. Now we mentioned the 5000 has the high speed, and I think we covered that in our other video. But let's talk about the UC3000 and the 300. These cameras both have HDR and 4K capability, but they're exclusive of each other. HDR, and I think is a misconception. HDR is not always, it's not a part of 4K necessarily.
No, it's completely it's a completely different and added feature.
Okay.
And so actually both the AK-HC5000 high-speed camera and the UC3000 4K camera have HDR built in.
Okay. So how do we use HDR today? So say that 4K is not really something on our radar, but you know, we've been to the trade shows, we've seen HDR, looks great.
Yes, it does.
How do we take advantage of that today and well, maybe forward thinking in the future? Because that's really kind of what this is about. We're looking ahead.
Well, if you go to Best Buy or some place like that, you'll see a lot of 4K ready panels, and you'll notice that they're also HDR ready. And so HDR is, they're usually a little bit brighter, but you're getting a whole lot more dynamic range.
Which is what it stands for, HDR, exactly. High dynamic range, is that correct? Okay. So what I've seen, and this is from me as a broadcast video guy, and I'm still learning a lot of this too, so this is educational for me. But you know, sometimes when you're outdoors, you can shoot maybe a football or baseball game and you can get the action, but the sky is going to be blown out because it's such a contrast between the two.
That is correct.
But with HDR, we expose a little bit differently, but all of a sudden we bring all of that detail back into the highs and the lows. So not only do you get detail, you can see clouds in the sky, but you can also see, you know, maybe the players in the dugout or maybe some darker areas. So all of it kind of maybe, and I don't have the right words, but it kind of normalizes everything so that you can see the highlights and the blacks.
Well, the camera is able to take in more because the cameras have more latitude.
Okay.
And the ones that are HDR ready, which these are. And so you're able to see more detail in the brights, and you're able to see all the detail in the darks without having to iris down. Normally, if you have a sunspot, like in a football game, you're going to have to iris down, and usually you're going to lose detail somewhere. And HDR just it opens up that world to be able to see detail in the brights and the darks.
Okay. Now, how do we use that in a traditional setup? So if a customer wants to take advantage of HDR, what are some of the things that they need to know before you know, purchasing a UC3000 and having an HDR compatible setup?
Well, you have to have a monitor or display that is HDR ready. It's basically a different gamma curve, and the monitor has to be able to see that.
Okay.
Everything in between, it'll pass.
And the monitor's acting as a decoder too, correct? It's
correct.
Giving you that. Now, what if we wanted to have an output that's just standard Rec 709 while we do HDR? Do they work side by side?
You can do that on the AKHU 500. You can output HDR on one of the outputs or two of the outputs, and so you can designate which outputs are HDR, and you can display normal output simultaneously.
Okay. So it kind of gives you the best of both worlds, or it kind of gets you maybe transition into HDR. And I think a lot of the thing is just backwards compatibility. So you can go standard 1080, you can go HDR, and you can do a little bit of both.
Right.
Correct? And so HDR applies also to 1080 and to 4K, and I wanted to reiterate that.
Yes.
That is just a gamma curve function that we can use either or, but they're exclusive.
Correct.
So as far as 4K, just wanted to kind of get some misinformation about the differences between UHD and Cinema 4K and what these cameras are capable of doing.
Well, these cameras, or the AKUC3000 is a broadcast 4K, which is UHD. So your resolution is 3840 by 2160.
Okay.
Now, Cinema 4K is 4096 by 2160. It's a 17 by 9 aspect ratio, whereas UHD is 16 by 9. And so the UC3000 studio cameras and the UB300 are UHD 3840 by
which is what our
2160.
broadcast is going to be.
Correct.
So that's fitting that mold already.
Correct. And for cinema, that you're getting into the Vericams.
Okay.
With that.
Okay, well that sounds good. You know, it's one of those things as technology changes, everybody has a lot of questions, and you know, it's great to continue to have these conversations, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot more questions, and as we're learning, we're going to share that information with you. So call us with any 4K UHD questions. If I can't answer it, I'm going to give you John's number, and he can help you out with it. So give us a call at 1-877-81-TAKE-1 or email us at mail@takeone.tv. As always, John, thanks for coming by.
Thanks,
You're
Chad.
welcome
Thanks
to
for
come
having
by
me.
anytime.
Appreciate it.
Absolutely.